Well, good afternoon, everyone. Oh, I see some familiar places. For everyone's benefit, this is being recorded and will be shown on our YouTube page. So if you have not liked and followed that, please get on there and do that. We've got some great content on there, courtesy of our co-president, Audrey Muck, who does so much work in our film and editing and all the work from all of her experience as well. So thank you, Audrey.
My pleasure.
Well, yeah, yeah. So we are thrilled, beyond thrilled, and this is the first time I probably have said Happy Women's Equality Day because normally I just say let's commemorate Women's Equality Day, but I'm saying Happy Women's Equality Day today because we are making milestones. They're small sometimes, and they feel small, and they feel like sometimes we're defeated at every turn, or at least we face a lot of opposition along this long trajectory of milestones along women's equality for the last 150 years plus. But we're getting there, and I do feel like we're able to celebrate today one of the big ones and one of our huge heroes and women of power with Lilly Ledbetter, who through her determination was able to help us secure the Equal Pay Act. So we are thrilled and beyond. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Marla Barthen. I'm one of the co-presidents of the ERANC Alliance, and so I'll be helping to moderate the discussion today. So, I see Senator Sophia Chitlik has entered the Zoom. Say hello, hi, and I want to introduce to you right now Rachel Feldman. She is the director and screenwriter of the film Lilly, which we're all pleased that is on all of our streaming platforms. So we recommend that you see it on Amazon Prime. And if you have not already, please leave a review on Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and all the other film websites that are out there that you can leave a review, especially Amazon Prime as well. So if you have not gotten a chance to see that film, we encourage you to see that as a celebration of today. But you can see it anytime this week if you have not already. We just appreciate you. You know, the film is being made and it's available so widely. So, Rachel, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. So Rachel's joining us from the West Coast, so it's a little earlier there for her. So this has been a lot to hurry up and finagle to get everybody here. But we're so glad that she was able to do that. I had the pleasure of meeting Rachel when she was on the tour for um, all the
Festivals.
film
Festivals.
festivals. Thank you, throughout the country, and she came here to Wilmington, North Carolina, for the Kookaloras Film Festival, and we were able to see her at Thalian Hall, and it was just fabulous. So to be able to have that time with her and to be able to see the film, it was a huge treat. So I was always forever grateful for that, and to be able to meet Sophia or to meet Rachel and to have a discussion and to build that relationship. So, Rachel, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what inspired you to make the movie Lilly?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me here today and happy Women's Equality Day. It does seem like a strange way to say it. And hi, Sophia. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Sophia and I have a personal deep personal connection. So it's thrilling to be here on with you. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I'm a filmmaker. I'm here in Hollywood, California, where I've lived most of my adult life. I've been a film and television director and screenwriter for my entire professional career. It's not been easy being a woman director in Hollywood, and I've shared stories about my own gender discrimination. The statistics for women directors have been abysmal, but they are getting better and better and improving. And certainly when I learned about Lilly Ledbetter and her story, I was attuned to what gender discrimination and employment discrimination and exclusion and shutting women out from the workforce felt like on a personal level. And I thought, wow, like Norma Ray or Erin Brockovich or Silkwood or North Country, these are great stories. And we love these stories. I love these stories. And they're, I'm a storyteller. I'm not a politician. I'm not a policy person. I don't work in government. Don't really understand I don't pretend to understand the inner workings of how our crazy government works. But I do know character and I do know story and I can sniff a good one when I encounter it. And I just knew in my bones that Lily's story was going to make a magnificent movie. And so it's been 17 years since I had that moment, that epiphany till now. And it's been an incredible journey and learning experience. And I'm very grateful to all the people who've helped me get here. But now we have a finished film that all of you can see, and I hope you all will.
Well, 17 years. I mean, I think that speaks to the journey of what it takes to get a film made, and
And a
what all
law
the hurdles.
passed. It took Lily 10 years to get the law passed. So we were
Oh,
always,
yes.
yeah, it was the same period of time, really.
Yes, yes. And did you how was that to get Lilly Ledbetter on board with the film, and what was that connection with her? Because I know that when we saw you in October of last year, Lily had just passed.
Yeah.
And so we hope that she got a chance to see the finished film.
Yeah.
And if you could tell us a little bit how that relationship developed over time with her.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. It did develop over time. So I had seen her just like everyone else on television at the 2008 convention, and I was struck with this notion about the movie. I reached out to her the very next day. We had a very nice connection. She said, I don't make any decisions on my own. You have to speak to my lawyer, John Goldfarb, who you'll see as a character in the movie. And I spoke to the real John Goldfarb, who is her lawyer and was her lawyer from beginning to end, and is now a very good friend of mine as well. And John explained that they were in the process of writing a beautiful book called Grace and Grit, which I recommend everyone go get. It's a gorgeous book that really chronicles Lily's story in a way that an hour and a half film could never do. And written with Linear Isom, who's also become another good friend. And so it took three years until they were ready to option the book and her life rights. So I got the rights 3 or 4 years later and immediately wrote a screenplay. And then I optioned that screenplay, which is the process in Hollywood, to 4 or 5 very big, prominent Oscar winning producers who said, yeah, we love this movie. We're going to get this movie made. And of course, they did nothing. And so it took me 5 years to figure out that that's the way things go in Hollywood, because I'm primarily a television director. I am not, I haven't worked in the feature field before, even though I've always wanted to. That's not an easy one for women to mount. And so when I realized these producers were kind of bullshitting me, I hope I can say that on live
You
TV.
absolutely can. Yes. Speak
I thought,
freely.
okay, the only way I'm going to get this movie made is to raise every dollar myself. And I didn't know how to do that at the time. So I met with other people who knew how to raise money for independent feature films. And Lily was completely on board. Lily is a movie lover, was a movie lover. She grew up, in tough times. She was born in 1938. She lived through the Depression. She really experienced that whole process of America being inspired and hopeful by going to movies and seeing Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire and movies that were going to uplift them. And that was part of her whole MO. And so when I told her I wanted to make not a documentary, but a feature film, she totally got that. And she was on board. She, yes, movie stars, flashy costumes, lighting, yes. So she did see the finished film and she saw other versions of the film along the way and actually gave me some great editorial comments that I took. So I was delighted that she loved the movie, and it was very, very sad that she died when she did 2 days after our world premiere. But her daughter and her daughter's family was with us at the Hamptons Film Festival, and they did get to enjoy it with us, which is astounding. It was a theater of 500, standing ovation, people laughing, crying, cheering. And Vicky was with us in the audience. They gave her a standing ovation. And then Vicky and her family ran back home to Birmingham, told Lily about the experience, and she died the next day.
Oh my gosh, it just gives me absolute. I have hair standing up on my arms just hearing you say that again. I knew that from our October screening, but it is never. It's always impactful for me to hear that from you. That the timing of all of that. I'm so glad that she got to do that. And I will say that as we saw the film, there was laughing, crying, tears, celebration, and some sadness in there, and we could feel the struggle. So I think, as a filmmaker, you took us on that journey, you took us through that whole story of that, and we were able to see it through, I think, Lily's eyes and her experience. And I think that that is the mark of a true storyteller.
Thank
So we
you.
see that in you. So we just appreciate that you are a filmmaker and a storyteller.
Thank you.
I know I'll let Audrey speak because she's also a storyteller. And she did the Brazen Bells, which was a story of the women's struggle. Those women were out of South Carolina, I believe, right, Audrey?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So you probably know a little bit about that journey of getting independent film made on a smaller scale, but independent film is difficult. It's a field that we're so glad that it's there, but it is not. It's a difficult field to
And
get
it's
people
getting
done.
more and more and more and more difficult because distribution is changing, and we're going through some tough times in the film industry.
And
Yeah, yeah,
fundraising is such a challenge,
Yeah.
yeah,
no matter which type of video you're doing.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm here in Wilmington and work as a medic behind the scenes, taking care of cast and crew, and so have felt that whole piece of getting films produced and made and trying to get them to be brought back to Wilmington. You know, after our horrible SB2 that was passed several years ago, that was the infamous bathroom bill that gutted our film industry and also our sports industry and got a lot of things moved out of North Carolina, and then we've struggled to get those things back. So we do know the impact directly of how politics impact industry. And for us, it was the film industry in particular in Wilmington that was so impacted, and we've not really fully recovered from that. And of course, we went through the long strikes, and that was difficult as well. But we're constantly fighting for workers' rights on all of our filmmaker counterparts, whether it's IATSE, SAG, Writers Guild. There's so many Teamsters. There's so many unions that are involved in making a film that it takes really a special recipe to get it. All the parts have to be coming together to make it happen. And so when we see some of our friends and colleagues being treated unfairly, we all stand up for them. So that has been something that we've all felt directly here in North Carolina. So it wasn't just in Hollywood, as most people would think. So there's so many struggles to get films made and TV made. So we do see that. We do feel that personally down here in Wilmington, North Carolina. I just wanted to say that for sure. One of the things I wanted to ask was, Patricia Clarkson, who portrayed Lily in the film, she did such a phenomenal job. I don't think that you could have picked a better actor to do that. So tell me what that was like to get her on board and what she brought personally to that, because I know that you shared with me a little bit about her family history and her their dedication to equality as well. So could you speak to that a little?
Of course. Thank you. Well, first of all, Patricia Clarkson is a remarkable actor. And, she's an Academy Award nominated actor. She's a multi-Golden Globe winner. She is beloved in our industry and known as a, top quality, fine actress of the highest level. And so she was always at the very top of my list because I wanted an actor who was Southern. She's from New Orleans. And I wanted an actor that was her age and looked her age. And I don't say this with any judgment whatsoever. We are in a very peculiar industry, but many women of my age have had a lot of work done because youth is admired and revered. And when you have your face blown up on a big screen like this, it's hard to age in front of your audience. But, Patty has had no work done, and she is gorgeous in her skin.
Yes.
And so those things were important to me. She does come from a political family. Her mother, Jackie Clarkson, was a city advisor to the mayor of New Orleans for many years. And women's rights, family issues were very, very important. And Patty comes from a family of 5 daughters. So not only was her mother involved in gender politics at an early age, but she was raising 5 girls. So it was important to all of them. And they're 5 professional women now. They all took after their mother. So she was very cognizant of who Lilly was. She, as she likes to say, she doesn't often get to play heroic women. She often plays the antagonist or the baddie in the movie. So it was fun for her to actually portray a heroic person, and a challenge because as an actor, she talks about this a lot. She didn't want to put her up on a pedestal. You can't play a character if you're looking up at them. You just have to be in their shoes. So it was a challenge for her, and every actor wants a challenge. And I was very lucky in that because I'm not known in the industry as a big feature film director, and she's represented at CAA, which is the top agency in the world, it's not a frequent thing that a director of my level would have her agents open the doors for me. But I was very fortuitous in that I had friends who knew a very prominent actor that everybody knows, probably the most famous actor in America, who opened the door for me. And because of that relationship, Patty's agents accepted my screenplay. They kind of knew that Patty was political and might be interested in it. And then the minute the screenplay got to Patty, she was, she's the kind of actor that she doesn't care about your pedigree, because I don't have a pedigree. But she just loved the project. She loved the script. She loved the character. And then, of course, we met and we had a great meeting of minds, and she knew she was in good hands. But that's an unusual story, and I'm very lucky that that happened.
That is amazing. I think it's really this testament, to women everywhere, but particularly the story about a woman from the South being able to rise up and to make a case all the way to the Supreme Court. That's just the odds of that are just unheard of. But I do think that, even though originally I come from Ohio, I've learned to really respect and hold in awe some of the grit of these Southern women, being in the South now, and what it takes to be able to make it in your occupation of choice, to raise your families, to get out and hold a protest sign. It costs you more in the South, if I would dare to say. It costs you a lot in the South because there's a lot of criticism that comes to women, particularly here, like in your churches and in your social circles. I could really feel that with Patricia's portrayal, that, she was facing criticism from her own family at times, that was really a hard struggle, in her social network of, why are you going on with this? Why can't you just accept it for what it is and move on? And she just never did. And I think that really spoke to her internal fire and a grit of a Southern woman. So tell me a little bit what you think about that, with how you were able to put in all those dynamics with Patricia, with Lilly's portrayals of how you were able to pull in all these relationships that she had.
Well, much of the screenplay really is based on the book. I mean, it's all based in truth. So I think that scene is so key when she goes to church and Charles is going to be giving testimony that day, and he's so excited, and it's such a day for him. But because she works in a Goodyear town where everyone's job is on the line at Goodyear, no one is willing to stand up for her. And so the community, even though it's a church, and a church that he has been part of for 4 generations. His father was a pastor, his grandfather was a pastor. They don't want him to give testimony that day because of Lilly. And these are just harsh realities. So for me, I like the word that you use, the word cost. I say that all the time. For me, that this movie is about the personal cost of putting a target on your chest or on your back, and how today more than ever, it's one person can instigate, one person can create change. One brave, courageous person can go against the grain to start speaking up, and then community will gather and join, and that will grow. And that's what we need to do today more than ever. But, we are human beings. I think we've been fighting these fights for 10,000 years in one form or another.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to say in particular that Lilly Ledbetter did not personally benefit from the Equal Pay Act. this is something that she gave to the rest of us. It wasn't something that she personally benefited from.
She didn't benefit financially one iota, and she gave up 10 years of her life. But here's what she did benefit from, and this is why I think the movie is beautiful in the end. She became a self-actualized woman. She was a woman who grew up in Jim Crow, Alabama, in a time and a place when women had a role. They were supposed to do what they wanted to do, and all she ever wanted to do was make a difference. There was a performative aspect for her. She liked the limelight. Okay, that's good. Let's give it to her. And she was good at it. And she wanted to make change. She wanted to affect change in society. She wanted to have her voice heard. And man, she had her voice heard. So yes, she didn't make one freaking penny from this arduous journey, and it cost her a lot in her personal life. But she died proud of herself, of this little girl who grew up in poverty with nothing, with an alcoholic father and a mean-spirited mother, who finally felt the love of the world and the gratitude of women all over America to recognize how great she was.
Oh, what a great point to make in all of this, because you can miss that when you look at the dollars and cents of it all. But that is, a lot of it is paying it forward for the next generations
That's
to
right.
come. And I find that to believe what we're doing in all these milestones. A lot of us that are in this ERA fight, who have been doing this for a very long time, these are mothers and aunts that marched in the 70s, right? And so they're now grandmothers' ages. And so, I'm coming along in 1970. So I was like the baby and the toddler, that was on the shoulders of and being on the hip of, carried through all those little marches and protests. But, so my generation as a Gen X are coming on, I'm at the, towards the end of my career trajectory as far as, what I'm going to make in my career field as a nurse. But, yes, I hope to be here for a long time, but, as far as like trying to make those milestones. So what I do now, and what I see a lot of us doing who are so dedicated to this, is it's not for us, it's for the generations that follow. And I do find that to believe in gender equality that we work for. That's kind of our mindset. It's not so that necessarily we're going to thrive, but we all have daughters and nieces who are going to need these rights. And it's really hard when you see a rollback of rights during this time. And I think it's very interesting that as the film came out and all of the screenings that were around the country, that was right on the heels of Roe being turned back. And so tell me about what that felt like for you, kind of putting out Lilly at the same time that you could see the turmoil in the country as far as gender rights are concerned and the rollback of women's rights. How did that feel, kind of going around and talking about this moment, but recognizing we were in this moment?
Well, I think I'm old enough to see how history goes. And when I started developing this project, let's call it a little bit more than a decade ago, people would say, oh, this is just the right, perfect moment for this film. This is the perfect moment, and then Obama came in. Oh, this is the perfect moment. And then the next, and then the next, and the next president, and the next administration. No, this is the perfect moment. Well, as this was all happening, there was no doubt that at the back of my mind, I felt like, no, this is the perfect moment, because people need to be reminded that change can happen. We are going to slip. We are going to slide. Again, the issues for me in my own particular life with employment really have to do with the statistics of women directors in Hollywood. And I, just using that as a little microcosmic example, or looking at anti-Semitism in America, another pocket that I live in. We improve and we slide, and we improve and we slide, and we improve and we slide. And we as the older generation really have to infuse hope in the younger generation. Yeah, we're in a bad moment right now, but we hope that people are generally good and that we will improve again. So I hold on to hope that the movie is at the right moment, at the right time, offering some hope that we as a society will make good decisions for our brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I think that there's a dedication that I see in you and other filmmakers about telling these stories of, you know, historical figures, you know, even if it's our lived history that's happening right now, but telling those stories so that the next generation will have them almost as an archive to look at and to look to invest in and see, you know, as inspiration, you know, hope, like you said. But
Exactly.
I do see that the importance of those storytelling that you do really holds a, you know, you have to make people feel invested, and that is what storytelling to me does.
Right,
You
exactly.
make them feel it because, you know, when you look at what we do on the political side of things and the work that we do at the North Carolina Alliance, the ERANC Alliance, you know, it's not glamorous, most of the work that we do. But if you can tell the story about one person or a time period, I do feel like folks become more invested in the movement.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And that's why I am a storyteller, so that I can put the audience in the shoes of another person so that they can have compassion. I see, the skill that I have, the craft that I have is to um, affect people. I mean, I use the word propaganda. I think propaganda can be a very positive thing, but to make people think and feel at the same time, that's really how you create change. I have to jump off in a couple of minutes, but I
Sure.
would love to hear Sophia while I'm here. So
Oh yeah,
I'm not in charge of this,
no,
but
no, no. But that was our little segue into, you know,
thank you.
storytelling to what we do on the political
Yes,
side
I
of
so
things.
appreciate it. Yeah, I'm going to hang
It,
up for a little bit so I can hear some others.
please, please, yes, hang in there as long as you can. But we're again, if we don't get to talk to you before you head out, we thank you and appreciate every moment of time that you've given us and the
Thank you.
behind the scenes of what you did for the
I
film.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Sophia Chitlik is one of our fantastic senators in North Carolina General Assembly, and we are just very proud to be able to say that when we introduced the bill this session, in this 2025 session for the ERA, that every single one of our North Carolina senators signed on to that. So we already knew that we had ERA champions inside the NCGA, and Sophia is one of those champions for us. So all we can say to you is thank you, thank you, thank you. But one of the things that you really brought forward this time is being one of the leaders of the next bill for us for equal pay. So, welcome, Sophia. What was your take on this relationship with Rachel and what your connection is with watching the film, and how does this inspire the work that you do in the General Assembly?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm Sophia Chitlik. Like Marla mentioned, I represent Durham, North Carolina in the state Senate. I'm a freshman in my first term, and I have a very different role as a progressive Democrat in the superminority. We still have not broken the supermajority in the Senate than almost any other member. I get to represent the progressive voice of my community here in Durham, North Carolina, which means I can actually say what I want to say because that's what Durham sent me to the General Assembly to do. So I'm in a very privileged position in a very gerrymandered state, as all of you know. And I ran for public office because I'm a mom of a toddler, and I looked around the General Assembly and didn't see a lot of people like me fighting for women's rights, equal pay, bodily autonomy, childcare, maternal mortality, all of the issues that were live wire conversations, not just among my friends, but in my community at the dinner table. These were not core priorities and still are not core priorities of our General Assembly. And as we go through this paradigm shift within the Democratic Party, some real soul searching, I think that we are starting to find our voice through the women who are leading. And I think that our Senate Democratic Caucus is a really great example of that. So while my colleagues in the state Senate 2/3 of them are men, and half of them are over 60, which is not representative of our extraordinarily diverse state, which skews young, is incredibly racially diverse, geographically diverse, and has almost perfect gender parity. Our General Assembly is not reflective of that, and the Senate is really not reflective. But our Senate Democratic Caucus is. We're under new leadership, and that means that women's issues are going to be centered in a new and different way. So Sydney Batch is the first woman Black minority leader for the Senate Democratic Caucus. Our caucus is majority women and majority people of color. It swings much younger than the Republican caucus. And so, whereas, they have 30 members and we have 20, even though 50% of North Carolinians, more North Carolinians voted for Democrats for the state Senate than Republicans. That is the beauty of gerrymandering, of stacking and cracking. We are building a caucus that is deeply representative of our state and of our values as North Carolinians. And one of those values is certainly around equal pay and the absolute centrality of affordability and of wage equity in our work. So we know that mothers, particularly single mothers, are carrying the weight of our whole society. And that means that without equal pay, we will forever have generational poverty. And so for me, this is an anti-poverty issue. It's a gender equity issue. It's a parental issue. And that's why I was so proud to be one of the primary sponsors of the Equal Pay Act this year. We're also leading on other things that are ancillary, but really deeply complementary to the story of equal pay and wage equity. One, is really around paid leave, paid family leave, paid medical leave. And I was a primary sponsor of that bill this year, along with Leader Batch. The other one is sick leave, right? Not everybody has paid sick leave in our state. That's wild, right? And then the other one is caregiving leave. And even not just caregiving leave, but what we call kin care, so that I could use one of my sick days, if I'm lucky enough to have sick days, to actually take my kid to a doctor's appointment or take an older relative to be able to go to the doctor. And so these are not issues that retired white men think about. Full stop. These are issues that I think about every day. I'm the only member of our state Senate with a preschooler. So I am in meetings about childcare, texting my childcare providers, dealing with, sick leave issues every day. And I'm expected to have a full-time job on top of this. And so our caucus is full of working moms. That's who we are. We're a working caucus. We're not a retired caucus. And so we are bringing our lived experience to this work. And that's why I think the policy is really important, and the policies are not going to change until the people who make those policies also change. And so I have this core belief that people are policy, which I learned on the Obama campaign when I was 18 years old, and then in the administration. And one of our first pieces of legislation in the administration, the first bill Barack Obama ever signed into law, was the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. And so for me, this is a very full circle conversation, not just because of my long-standing relationship with Rachel. Her niece is one of my best friends forever and ever and ever. I grew up in Los Angeles. My parents are in the film industry, and I've seen firsthand how hard it is, the discrimination that exists in the industry for women, for folks with disabilities, for people of color. I've seen that my whole career. My mom was basically forced into retirement. And so I think that these issues are very live to me because they're not abstract. They are actual issues that I've seen in my daily life, that I see all the time in my community. Women are the backbone of Durham. They're the backbone of the South. We know this. Women not only are raising their kids, but they're often raising other people's kids too, right? Whether it's grandparents, neighbors, aunties, or domestic workers. And that's why I've been a really, really strong champion of domestic workers, of caregivers, of making sure we're centering not just the needs of people who are doing unpaid labor, but also folks who are doing our paid labor as well. And then the last thing I'll talk about is just the context of the critical role of wage equity within the film industry. So I'm a member of our Economic Development Caucus, and I'm actually one of the new co-chairs of our Film Caucus, which is a subcommittee of our Economic Development Caucus, working with colleagues across the aisle to see how we can revitalize our tax credit program and revitalize the film industry in Wilmington and beyond. And we know that that is such a strong source of jobs, not just for men, but for women, right? And not and strong union jobs. And so this is really important to me personally, to continue to bring this mantle of how can we expand our economy? How can we have an inclusive economy? How can we center our assets in the economic revitalization of our state? We're number one in business, but that's not good enough. We also have to be number one for families. We have to be number one for workers. And we're a really long way away from that. And again, that's because people are policy, and the people who are making our policy in in the Republican supermajority right now are not reflective of our community. And that's why I'm so excited to work with Leader Batch and our caucus to try to break that supermajority. We need to hold 2 seats and flip just 1 seat, and then we'll be able to sustain the governor's veto. We'll be able to mitigate the harm that's coming our way. We'll be able to negotiate, whether it's expansion of film industry tax credits or equal pay or paid leave. We will be able to have the leverage that we need. And we're less than 18 months away from bringing in that reality, which is why we'll be traveling across the state, raising money, recruiting candidates, talking to folks, in addition to our job as policymakers and as workers and as parents. And so, I'm excited to be part of the next blue wave, and happy to take any questions about our work. And I'm just so grateful to Rachel for elevating this story and for introducing people to a political conversation through the power of film, through the power of story, because this is starting a really important conversation, and it's really carrying Lilly's memory across the country and into the work that she envisioned for all of us. So thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Actually, and thank you, Sophia. That is really commendable about what your personal experience and what your personal reality is right now in this time period, and what you face as a mom and as a community member, and then now part of our NCGA. I know that there are plenty of times where you don't get enough sleep. Probably didn't get lunch that day, probably just, you're doing the work all the time. And so we know that it's exhausting, and we validate your commitment to it, and we appreciate it. We need you there. Yes.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to lead on these issues. And, I'm certainly not alone in the building. We really have a powerhouse caucus in the Senate, and I have my colleagues in the House who've been pushing these for a long time. And, I think it is going to take it's a relay race. It's a marathon that's going to take a lot of us passing the baton, re-energizing each other. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to go into public office in this moment. I mean, how long have we been trying to pass this? How long have we been trying to ratify the ERA? These are generational fights, and it's my job. It's not necessarily our job to finish the work, right? But we learned in the Talmud, nor shall we desist from it, right? So we have to do it. It's not necessarily ours to finish, but it's ours to carry through. And that's very important to me. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish the work, but I will absolutely do my best to carry it through and to be able to pass the baton. But I'm hopeful that in our path to fair maps, which will happen around 2030, 2032, if we continue to do all of the work, that we will have a viable path forward to not just repairing some of the harm that has been caused, but also to leading with our values, passing the Equal Pay Act, passing paid leave, all of these policies that will be so deeply transformational for women and for families.
Yes, yes. And we're really holding on to that time frame when we can pass fair maps, when we can change the demographic of the NCGA, so that we could hopefully introduce a more expansive ERA language to include all the different identities. That is our long-term goal at the North Carolina ERA NC Alliance. That is one of the works that we do that is slow and grinding, but a lot of what we do is to build those relationships to be able to carry that forward, and also making sure that ERA is top of mind with every one of our NCGA members to be able to sign on to that. So we do that now every cycle. And we have one of our folks that's been part of our board for a very long time. She's in her 80s, and she did this every cycle for us. And now we've carried that baton for her and done more of that. But that was really slow, grinding work to make sure that we continually make that top of mind with all of our NCGA members. So we appreciate all of that you do. I do want to touch on the one point that you made with the Governor Stein's announcement about us being number one in business. It really was we could hear it, but I could also feel the criticism almost immediately for my own self coming up there. I'm like, well, for who? Who is it number one for who? It really didn't ring true for women. It didn't ring true right now for the film industry. So it wasn't true for my personal experience, but I get where we were coming from with it. But it really was not a true representative of everyone's experience that we're facing in North Carolina. So, it was a stat, but anyway, that's my criticism of it. I'm like, maybe.
I'm going to
Yes.
hop off. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Oh,
you.
great to see all of you and meet all of you. Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you
Thank you
much,
so much.
Rachel.
Bye.
Yes, that was really fantastic. Sophia, one of the things I wanted to touch on with you was that we are celebrating one of our incremental achievements, I guess, at the ERENC Alliance is that we do now make recommendations to the commission for the statutes commission. And one of the things that we had done was pro bono work with Winston and Strawn, our legal advocates. They did a full assessment audit of all of our laws to look at where all the gendered language lies. And it was just expanded. It was like, I don't know, 85% of our pages were, had gendered language in there. Some of them more impactful for us or consequential for us, and some were just, language things that need to be changed. But one of the other things that we've been able to, I guess, influence or keep top of mind for them now by being present and by, talking about remedying these older laws was that the other part of that is looking at new laws that are being passed. And when they get to the Statutes Commission, that they look at gendered language so that we don't have to come back and remediate all these laws. Let's stop it in its tracks now. And that just happened with the omnibus bill. And so
That's great.
we were contacted by those folks to let us know that, hey, we hear you. And yeah, moment.
We'll take the little wins. Like we got to start with the small wins.
Yeah, but it's a win that, again, it's been long work that we've been doing, but it is going to impact laws being made from here on out. So is it a little win when you know that you are influencing, the present? You're trying to fix some of the past, but you are impacting the future. And we won't necessarily realize that right now or see what the impact of that work is. Maybe 10 years from now or 15 years from now, there'll be something that has, gender neutral language. And we hope, we have no luck right now getting gender expansive language, but gender neutral language at a minimum. To get those things recognized. We won't know the impact of that probably for years to come. It won't be. And so we know that what we do right now does impact the future. So I just want to say that on behalf of the Alliance, because the Alliance is made up of many organizations throughout the state that advocate for equality on a lot of different fronts. So we have right now, we have Shattering Glass that's been in here, and they are a national organization. We have representatives from North Carolina Now, National Organization for Women, and I'm not really sure who else is representing who in here, but, so even though you see one person in here, it's not one person, it's, a larger organization being represented. Yes, Virginia Adamson is here is it Women Advance or the Women's Forum. So we see, lots of our friends and colleagues in here as well. So I just want you to know you're not speaking to a small audience. You're speaking to the ripple of all of us. So
we also have some League of Women Voters folks in here.
League of Women Voters, yes. Thank you.
And
BPW, yes.
Yes.
See, we're here, Sophia. We're interested in what you have to say because we welcome you. And one of the other things I want to mention is Senator Natalie Murdoch's work. She has been a long champion of us. And so I'm sure that you have a pretty strong relationship with Natalie. Yes. Yeah. Tell us.
Natalie and I work so closely together, and I'm so lucky to be able to have her as a mentor and a partner along with my other colleagues. I work really closely with Natalie, probably the most closely with Leader Batch, with Lisa Grafstein, who's been a huge champion. And they've been great in just offering their mentorship and also collaboration and thought partnership into how we really not just introduce new and innovative ideas, whether it's in terms of birth equity or gender inclusivity, but also how we change the narrative and how we talk about these issues and elevate these issues. Natalie's brilliant at communications and public media. And so, we're working as a united front here in Durham to make sure that we're doing our part, again, to break the supermajority and make sure that we're on this path of equitable representation in our state, right? We are facing gerrymandering, which is kind of the epitome, right, of inequality, where it's intentionally silencing the voices of the very people that we're being elected to protect. And it has really serious, meaningful consequences for women. I think we don't talk about gerrymandering actually as a gender issue, but if you look at gerrymandered maps, who wins?
Yes.
And it's more men come into office. So if we look at what happened with gerrymandering, we have our congressional delegation is more male, right, than it was previously. We're down Kathy Manning. It's not like we have that many women in Congress. And so we see these seats being eliminated, right? They gerrymandered Natasha Marcus. They gerrymandered lieutenant governor, right? And so I think we see the ways in which this really impacts women who have worked their whole life. Often the loudest and strongest voices are the ones that are attacked. And they can't gerrymander Durham into silence, which is why Natalie and I get to be who we actually are, which is proud and loud advocates on these issues. But I think we really have to think about that collective long game. We're not going to be able to pass equitable legislation on anything until we really fix and end gerrymandering. And that begins with flipping our state Supreme Court and taking that back. Re-electing Justice Earls, re-electing Justice Riggs, and now working to re-elect Justice Earls, and then making sure we get those 2 seats in 2028 back on the court, get through a census in 2030, and get to fair maps. And so we have a path, and it's about patience and about sticking with us. And even though we know that we're not going to be able to pass the ERA or ratify the ERA, we're not going to be able to pass the Equal Pay Act until then, we're still going to do it every year.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. And we're not going to stop trying to do the right thing just because they've rigged the game.
Yeah.
It's a yes and.
Yeah, we've definitely gotten that question to us, like, why are we still doing that after the ERA had passed 38 states, is now ratified? Like, why is North Carolina still doing that? And it was like, well, because, we know that when the 19th Amendment was passed, it took North Carolina another 50 years to get that passed. And we were, one of the last states. It was totally a holdout for North Carolina. And we were like, well, why be last this time? Let's go ahead and just still put it in there, even though we know that we still have these uphill obstacles. But, let us keep the fight going. So we agree with that sentiment, Sophia. Absolutely. That is exactly why we do what we continue to do. One of the other things that was not lost on every name that you dropped here is that they were all women. And we would love to see more of our male counterparts, really do more in this area. It would be nice to be able to see that on their platform automatically without us having to ask. That would be really nice.
And I think I think a lot of folks are, Senator Garrett is a primary sponsor of the Equal Pay Act and has been very, very vocal this year. Certainly Senator Chaudhry has been a long advocate and a very close mentor of mine, and probably my biggest co-conspirator on childcare and the person who's been doing the work long before me. We do have Senator Everett, a lot of the parents of younger kids. I would say the younger dads fight hard, right? Senator Garrett, Senator Everett, Senator Chaudhry have school-age children.
Yeah, on the Senate side.
Actually, they all have daughters.
On the Senate side, we're 100%. I mean, that's the thing. But on the House side, we have work to do. We had some holdouts.
For sure.
And even some comments.
For sure. But also my colleague, Zach Hawkins fights really, really hard. Also, but again, you'll see a common thread that a lot of the folks who are fighting the hardest have school-age children. And so I think that, one of the big challenges in our legislature, again, people are policy, and these jobs are very difficult to manage with everything that we need to do. And so I really believe that the future of our party is with working parents and centering their voices in this work, because if you're a working parent, You understand that it will change over time who is the breadwinner, who is the primary earner,
Yes.
and in any other situation, right, it can all flip, and that we need parental leave, not just for moms, but for dads. Just as, we need paid leave for everybody, for multi-generational families, right? And so I think we're going to see, as our legislature shifts and as we fight harder and as it gets younger and as it gets more diverse and as we get more women in there, we are going to see the nature of these fights change. And I hope that we will see them depoliticized in some way over time. But the best way to fix that is by expanding our caucus and electing more women to do this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Politics is women's work, so
It does
it always
feel like
has
that.
been.
Yes. Well, one of the things, I guess, our I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's on all of our branding of all of our merch. It's everywhere now. We're coming out with it even more. Is equal rights is for all y'all. That's our like North Carolina sentiment for the South, because it is for all genders. It protects men as well as it protects women, and that's a big educational advertising advocacy work that we now expand and do more of, because we need folks to understand it. And also with our LGBTQ plus community, being able to talk about those all genders and gender identities, and how the ERA, it really affects every facet of every issue that we have, is gender equality, gender parity, gender equity. It seeps into every single thing. So we have about 9 minutes left. And before I let everybody go, I wanted to, since there's about a dozen of us left here, if there's anybody that wants to come off and ask a different question, or if Audrey, if you have anything that's follow-up that I've missed, please jump off here. And
well, I do have one, as far as how do we support you, Sophia, with the equal pay bills that are sharing space with the ERA ratification bill in the Rules Committee?
I mean, there's nothing that the public can do to get these bills out of rules. The thing that we can do is change who makes the rules. And that's what we need to be focused on. We as Democrats in the state Senate are not allowed to pass legislation. That's basically the directive this year. It wasn't always this way, but not a single bill with a Democratic name as a primary sponsor has passed. So sometimes they'll take our ideas and strip them of our names and pass them a few years later. I was able to pass an amendment, which is kind of like a Herculean task in this environment. But we are not allowed to pass bills, even though we are smarter, more experienced, and represent just as many people. And so I think that is, we cannot, like, eyes on the prize. The prize is we have to change the legislature.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that obviously is the answer. So thank you for saying it loud and clear for us. And I will be remiss to say that, do we have a Durham person in here? I don't know. We definitely have members that are in the Durham area and probably know you well. Oh, there's a comment about fundraising being a big issue for female candidates.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Huge. Which is partially why, in a very feminine way, we are working collaboratively as a team to raise money for the caucus. So when Natalie and I are hosting fundraisers for ourselves, we're really hosting fundraisers for the caucus. So the folks who are in wealthier areas, right, in equitable ways, are raising more money to put it into the general pool of funds to go help the candidates who either are having a hard time raising in their communities because they're less wealthy communities, right? Our districts are radically different in terms of median income, and also into the races that cost more money. So to hold the races that we need, the seats that we need to hold, with Senator Woodson Bradley, who's an amazing advocate for women, and Senator Terrence Everett, who I just talked about, who's also an incredible advocate, those are $1 million races. and we have 2 of them, and we need to flip at least 1 seat. So that's a $3 million. So we need to raise $5 million as a team, and that's why we need to make sure that we have women who can be team players raising money. You know, when we raise money, we're not really raising money for ourselves. We spend a little bit of money on our kind of constant campaigns, but what we're really doing is turning around and writing those checks to the caucus to support our team, because that's what women do.
Yeah, I don't think that's a generally known fact that's happening, or the, what happens behind the scenes. I don't think that people see that when they see your name pop up on different things, or, for these fundraisers. I don't think people understand the caucus.
Yeah.
To know that that's what its goal is out there on the fundraising side. So yeah, we will definitely share that tidbit out, that you're not just donating to one, you're donating for all. It's for the bigger, the larger fight.
That's right.
Yeah, good enough. All right. Do we have anybody else that wants to pop up here? I don't see anybody with anybody hand raised or anything. So if not, we will let Sophia get back to her very busy day. I'm sure. I'm sure you're juggling many, many things.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for making time and for your work and your own constant campaigns for this. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're appreciative of you and all of the women, especially in our state, that come forward to do the work. Like I said, it doesn't come with a lot of accolades, and it's a lot of behind the scenes. It's not flashy or fancy. It's not just holding a sign. There's so much work that is a grind, and goes on, that's folks don't really understand what's happening. So it is a grind, and we see it for you. We see it for us. We're here, we're, supportive. So it's
Thank
a full
you.
respect here. So yeah.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. And we can't do this work without you, and for the advocates that carry it over from season to season, regardless of who is in the building. So thank you for your work, and for bringing everybody together. And I look forward to talking soon.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Oh, Nicole, you're off speaker.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I was trying to put my camera on. Apologies. I just wanted to say thank you. And I wanted to ask you, we're talking about fundraising. And by the way, I'm taking off my 501c3 hat, and I'm going to be a part-time resident of Currituck County right now. So when we're talking about, needing to find the bodies with the right mindset throughout the state of North Carolina, and the challenges with fundraising, what is the strategy, I guess, for, I don't want to say lost cause counties like Currituck versus a Dare County where there's potential there. And Judy here is from Dare County. Like, is there a long-term strategy there?
Yeah, for sure. We want to make sure that we run candidates in every race, whether it's competitive or not. And that the county by county strategy is a little bit more is a little different in the House, because the Senate districts are much larger. So Dare and Currituck share a Senate district along with, I think, 6 other counties. So that's that's a little bit of a different strategy. We want to make sure we have candidates running in all 50 races. And that's important to us in the Senate, even if we'll never win, because that's about power building. That's about pushing up the rest of the ticket. That's about turnout. That's about trusted messengers, because one day we will have fair maps, whether it's in, 4 years or 7 years or 20 years, we're going to have them. And so I think that that's really important. I also think, it's great to have those candidates and for them to build, meaningful constituencies. And you're right, running makes them spend, which is important, but we also have to be realistic on this, about where we're investing meaningful capital, and because we need to be investing where we can win. If we raise more, we can do more, but we have to start with where we have to hold and where we need to flip.
Yeah. And,
Gotcha.
glad thing to be able to say that in 2024, we did achieve that. We did have, every race.
Yep.
So that was achievement. So again, taking off my ERA NC Alliance hat and just saying it did happen, just to clear up a fact for that. Yes. So I see that we have a lot in here. And one of the questions is, could we try to come off camera so that we could take a group photo? Is that possible for Pamela and Gilia, Candace and Caroline? if we could just pop in and just say hi. And Judy, if we could get your face on instead of those beautiful leaves in the background, that's fine, or blades of grass. She may have stepped away and can probably just hear us in the background. Hey, there she
There
is.
she is.
Hey, Galia. Hey, Pam. And may have stepped away for a second or not unable to. All right, here you go. Say cheese. You guys taking a photo? Who's our photo? Who's our photo captain? It ain't me.
Give me a sec.
Okay. Look at Virginia.
Virginia, can you do that?
I think I can just take a screenshot. Hold on here. How do I do that? I'm not witty enough. That's a Virginia Adamson technical question.
I got one.
Way to go.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Hi, thanks so much for that.
May I
everybody.
share?
Thanks.
May I share a picture?
Sure.
While you do that, Hobby, you posted the link to the Power Up Virginia event on Friday. Do you want to say something quick about that?
Thursday, actually.
Abby.
Thursday. Oh,
But yeah, Virginia and New Jersey have governor races. And so we end up getting a lot of focus on us. And right now, I guess our president for the USA has now started attacking Abigail Spanberger. You may all know her. Her mom is Eileen Davis, who's been an ERA advocate forever. So the Virginia election is really important, November 4, because it will show the country that no, we're not going with what's going on in the federal level, and we're going to stand our ground and change the direction going into the midterms in 2026. So we're really trying to bring a lot of groups together, similar to what we did when we ratified the Equal Rights Amendment as the last needed state to meet Article 5. So anyway, that's your all invitation if you'd like to come and join us and think about adopting a candidate or writing some postcards or making some calls or just supporting any candidates. It is interesting. When we were going for equality candidates, working up to the ERA ratification, we ended up with people all over the country who were helpful, and it really picks up people's spirits. We all stand together. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, neighbor. Yeah.
and what a cool photo.
Yeah, that's great.
That's Pat Sledge
Uh-huh.
and Lilly Ledbetter, as well as Michelle Evans. Lilly Ledbetter came to the Women's Equality Day event in 2008.
Wow, that's
I was there.
Yeah, I was there. So that's the only picture I could find, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, well, there's Pat. So of course
There's
we have to
Pat.
share this picture.
Yay.
Thanks for the share. What a great note to close on to kind of tie it all back into our conversation about Lilly Ledbetter and her fight and what we do here. So we just appreciate, we're here for an hour now, so we appreciate everybody just taking the time. And again, this will be posted on our YouTube page, and so you can share this out to your organizations, please, because I think it's a consequential conversation that took place. So happy Women's Equality Day. Continue the fight, folks.
Thank you all.